Hey everybody, welcome back and thanks for joining me. Today on this tutorial, what I've decided to do is to go into more detail about how to work the crown of a beanie for an infant and a small child and an adult. So I've got two hats here that I designed myself. So these are my patterns that I'm going to use for examples. And I'm going to show you basically how to form the crown and then when to stop increasing and then start building the body of the hat from that point on for all three sizes. I've gotten a lot of comments and questions from lots of people on this, and it seems to be a big question for some of my followers. And I did do a tutorial a couple years ago basically on how to do the basic beanie, but this tutorial is not going to be how to do a whole beanie itself. It's just going to be how to actually form the crown of your beanie. So basically that'll show you how many rounds of increase to do for all three sizes. It'll give you an estimate, but that's going to still be a little different based on what size hook you're going to be using and what size yarn you choose to use. So keep that in mind. So that's the same for any project you do. Yarn size and hook size and also your tension, all three of those are going to play a very important part in how many rounds you're going to do, but only by a couple rounds. But this tutorial will give you a good bit of advice on how many rounds you will be doing for all three. So grab yourself a basic hook. I'm just going to use a standard 4-weight yarn and probably an I-9 hook, and I will be right back with you. Alright, so what I did here is I pulled up a past project, and this is just a standard ladies beanie here, and it's worked by joining. And basically what you see here is, if I can stretch this out good enough for you to see, it's just worked by joining. It's not worked in the round. So there are going to be patterns that are worked in the round or by joining, and I will be talking quite a bit in this tutorial. So, but you can see that it's worked completely in a circle, and it's worked in increased rows until it's big enough at the crown. And what we mean by the crown is, I'm going to use my little baby head here to show you. Let me back up a bit here. The crown part of your head, of course, as we know, is going to be the part here. Okay? If you're looking, what you're doing here is you're going to fit this part here is what you're going to be doing the increase for. Okay? So this is what you're going to be making any beanie to start off to fit, basically right in here. Alright, and then the basic technique to that is, I'm going to lay this down, and once you get that crown to where you think it's large enough, you're going to put the crown, which is going to be a basic circle, you're going to put that on the top of the crown here, on the person that you want it to fit, not anyone else, just the person you want it to fit, because everybody's size is going to be slightly different. And then you're going to take your hands and you're going to put them right above the ears or right against the ears, and you want to hold your fingers straight up. Okay, and now the key to that, and I don't have just a circle yet to compare that to, but I'm going to put this here and pretend like this is the actual crown part. But you put that on the crown part and put your hands here. And basically what you want to do, and that'll fall off for now, but you want to make sure that that crown comes and touches both sides of your fingers. That is how you're going to determine that that crown is going to be large enough for the head that you're making it to fit. Because then once you start building the body of it, then it's just going to start building straight down the head. And then if it's touching your fingers, that means the rest of the part that you're going to be building is just going to come right down. and it's just going to fit your head or the person's head perfectly. Now, when you're building up a slouch beanie, it's going to be different because slouch beanies are not made to fit against the head. They're made to dangle. So that's the rule doesn't apply there. Okay, so if I put this back on my little baby head, you'll see that my increase stopped here. So if I put my hands right here, you see this row right here? This is where I stopped increasing. You see where that they both pretty much touch my hands right here at the white. Then I started working straight down, and now that's even. So with that, that's pretty much how that works. Now this is a kind of a slouch beanie that I made. This is like my pull top beanie. You see how that's not the same process, okay? You see how it doesn't touch up here because there was not an actual top made. There was not a crown made for this because I made it from the bottom up, where basic beanies are made from the top down for a basic beanie. But because the world of beanies and hats is changing so much and the design of them is changing so much, sometimes the rule changes with that. Okay, so basically, you know, if I had, I could take this one off of here and put this one on. Okay, so if I put that one on and lay her down, this will basically tell you where my increase has stopped. And I would have to look a minute to see where my increase has stopped, but it would be pretty close to right in here. So that is the basic information there. Now I'm going to also have links in this tutorial down below, which you should see now, of some sites where you can follow some head or hat sizing charts that I actually use. And if you look below, you'll see one of them is called knitsycrochet.com. There's a great hat or head sizing chart there. And also Kat's Rockin' Crochet. She has an awesome hat sizing chart. But you can go to Pinterest or you can go to Google and just type in hat sizing charts and crochet, anything like that, and you'll be able to find dozens of them. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this started. And as I said before, I'm using a 4-weight yarn for this demonstration and a 5/5 or I-9 hook. Now, the other bit of information is you see hats that are like this one, more pointy at the top. To get that effect, you want to start off with fewer stitches in your startup round. If you want to get it more flat at the top, you start off with more stitches. Pointy means fewer stitches in the start, and if you want it flatter, you start off with more. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off, we're going to chain up 4, and then you're just going to simply join. Okay, I'm going for the flatter look. So what we're going to do is we're going to work in half double crochet. Alright, so what I'm going to do is put 11 half double crochet, and generally the chain, oh, and also go ahead and chain 2. Your chain 2 is also going to count as a stitch. So you're going to put 11 half double crochet into your ring. Alright, so let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So with that chain 2, you're actually going to have 12 half doubles in there. Now if you still have a center hole, you don't like that, pull that tail and close that up real good. Okay, so now you'll have a total of 12 half doubles there. You want to join into the top of that beginning chain 2. So now we have the beginning. Now the important part of making a beanie is going to be starting off with increasing. You must know how to increase, and if you don't know how to increase, you need to make sure and go to my tutorial on how to increase. So now you're going to chain up 2, and you're going to put an increase. When I say increase, that means you're going to put 2 stitches in each one of these stitches around. So each stitch needs to have 2. So you're going to put another half double into that same stitch with your chain 2. And then this is where a lot of people get lost. So this is where I feel that you're making your mistakes if you're having the problem. Is right there where I put that second stitch, that is where your chain 2 is at. And a lot of times if you're losing a stitch, I'm assuming you're going into here. Okay? That tells me you just jumped a whole stitch, and this stitch here just got completely lost. And that's a very, very common mistake, because if I pull my stitch back out, you see that there's the stitch right here is your beginning stitch, which needs to get that first stitch. So you'll yarn over, go into that stitch, which is the stitch that you did your chain 2 in. Now you do not ignore this stitch. That is a stitch. So you want to, it's a little hard to get into, but you have to get into it. So you see where you have your 2 loops. So now you have to put 2 half double crochet here. And if you miss that stitch and you're like, well, my stitch count's off, I put all my stitches in, well, more than likely you missed that stitch. So you put 2 stitches in there. Okay, and now you just put 2 stitches around in the rest of your stitches. So if you're coming up on this round 2 stitches short, more than likely that's where those 2 stitches are lost. Because working in the round, or not in the round, but in a round circle like this, I've seen it happen over and over. So most of the time when I hear or get a message that somebody says, well, I'm 2 stitches off, I'm like, well, I pretty much can tell you where your stitches are gone. So you just keep working. And if you're more comfortable with putting this stitch marker in, by all means use it. After 4 years, I still use my stitch markers. So do not be shy about using them. They can be your best friend. There's nothing worse than having to frog a project, especially if you're well into it. Alright, so go ahead and stop here, make a count. Okay, so if you had 12 stitches to start and you doubled those, that's going to give you 24. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Make sure you count that chain 2 as 22. Now you have 1 stitch left. 23 and 24. Okay? So now you want to join into the top of that chain 2. Okay? So that's your first increased, or not your first increase round, but that's your actual, that's your first increase round, okay? So I will be back and we will work on our second increase row. Alright, now we are going to work on our next row. So we are going to keep increasing. So let's chain up 2. So now what we're going to do here is you want to leave 1 stitch, which is our chain 2. And now what we're going to do is in the next stitch, which is the one that I always say do not skip, you want to put 2 stitches into the next one. So make sure you do not skip that stitch. Alright, so now the process for this row is going to be 1 and then 2. So you'll repeat that. 1 in the next stitch, then 2 in the next. So 1 and 2. 1 and 2. And we'll work that around. And believe it or not, once you get at the end of this round, this would be about the size crown for a preemie. So, and also be based on the yarn that you're using as well. But preemie hats are very, very tiny. You would only go 1, 2 rounds at most for your increase. So 2, and 1 in the next, 2 in the next, 1 in the next, 2 in the next. And the basic rule, it's not always this way, but most of the time it is. When you're on your last stitch of your increase rounds, you want to try to make sure you end up on your last stitch as an increase. So 2 in the last stitch. Alright, so you want to join into the top of that chain 2. Alright, so that is our 3rd row, and we will be back for our 4th row. Okay, round 4, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to chain up 2. Only this time now when you increase, we're going to go into that next stitch that's easily looked over, so don't look over it. Put 1/2 double crochet in there. And now you're going to do 2 in the next, so that next one will be our increase stitch. So if you take a look at what we're doing now, you're going to have in this, let's take a look back. You have your beginning round. Alright, so you had your 12 stitches. Then your next round, you had your 2 in each stitch. Then your 3rd round, we did 1, then 2. 1, then 2. Now your 4th round, you're going to go 1, 1, 2. So you're just going to have 1 stitch. You're going to go up 1 stitch before your increase per row, if you understand. So you had 1, then 2. Now you're going to have 1, 1, 2. Your next row will be 1, 1, 1, 2. It's basic counting. So each row you have to increase, you're just going to have 1 more single stitch before your increase. Okay? So let's keep going. So now you're going to go 1, 1, and 2. And basically I'm doing 0 to 3 months for this crown hat. I'm not doing the hat, but we're doing the crown. So again, we're going to do 1, 1, and 2. And you want to work this around. So 1. Oh, Charlie and Sable's little hairs on my table. So there's 1, 1, and 2. So as I've always said, learning increasing and decreasing in crochet is probably one of the biggest crucial techniques you will have to know to crochet, because it will form and it will shape and make the magic happen, in my opinion. And of course all of us instructors have our opinions, of course, but to me it just makes it happen. So it can make or break your projects. But and also, like I stated, your being aware of that beginning stitch is very, very important, because if you do not get that beginning stitch, your stitch count will guarantee to be off. And that's why I wanted to do this tutorial. Even though I did have a basic beanie tutorial, sometimes I have thought to myself, maybe I need to go into more detail with some of the past tutorials I have done, because I've grown myself as a crocheting artist and pattern writer, an instructor. So you may see more tutorials of me going back and touching into more detail with things this year. Alright, so we're on the last draw, so I'm going to put 2 here. So again, if you did your stitches correctly, your last stitch should be an increase. So let's do 1, 1, and 2. Alright, now you want to join into the top of that chain 2. And let's get our tape measure out now. Let's measure what we have. So you want to stretch out here. And to make this a 0 to 3 month, you want to have it between about 5. I'm not going to go any further than 5 because it should be just fine at about 5. So we're going to go another round. You want to go you want to go about 5 rows of increase. So you want to go between 5 and 5.5 inches here with your measurement in order for it to be a 0 to 3 month crown here. Okay, so you see we're sitting at about 4. So we are going to go one more round. So you want to just chain up 2 again. Now don't forget your stitch here. So we're going to put 1 in this next stitch. So here we had 1, 1, 2. So now you're going to go 1, 1, 1, because you want to add that extra stitch by itself before the increase. And now you'll do 2. Okay, like I say, it's basic counting. Here you went, this is your basic round here, then you went 2 in each stitch here, then you started 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, now you're going 1, 1, 1, 2. And that's how you're doing your increase. So 1, 1, 1, and now 2. One, 1, 1, and 2. Okay, 1, 1, 1, and 2. So you'll have 3 single stitches, and then you will have your increase. And then by the time you get to the end of this row, this should measure out pretty good for a 0 to 3 month. Now mind you, this is in half double crochet. Now keep in mind that this is going to be different measurements based on your stitch. If you use a different size yarn or a different size hook, it's also going to change your measurement, which means you may have to add or take away a row. So, you know, I'm just demonstrating in one particular stitch. So I could demonstrate the same exact thing in each stitch, but it's really going to be no different. you know, it will be the same exact process. So once I've shown you how to do one, it's going to be the same thing with all of them. The only thing that's going to be different is you will just have to, say if you used a single crochet, you will probably have to add a row or two extra of increase. So that means you will, you will go another row, which means instead of having your 3 singles here, you will have your next row will have an additional one, and then your following row will have yet another additional one before your increase. And that's, again, basic counting. And we all know how to do that, so. Okay, so we're on our last set here. So 1, 2, let's see, I think, oh, yeah, I missed one right there. 1, 2, 3, this one should be doubled. So 1, 2, 3, and now increase. Now join to your chain 2, and now you see that your crown is bigger, so let's measure what we have now. And now you see you have about 5 1/4. So that is going to be pretty standard for a 0 to 3 month. Okay? So now what you would do is, if you're going to work it all in half double crochet, all you're going to do is chain up 2, and then you're just going to start working half double crochet in each stitch around until your beanie is actually long enough. And you will have to determine how long you want that, because some people want them right at the top of their, in the middle of their forehead. Some like it at the top of their eyebrows. Some like it to where it covers the bottom of their earlobes. And some people like them long enough to where they can roll them up a couple times. So, again, the charts listed below on these links that I have given you will also give you a standard size as well for those. So this is going to be your standard crown for your 0 to 3 month old child. So once I come back, we will move on we'll leave this here, so don't pull this out. I will move on and we will continue increasing, and I will show you how to make this for a child size. Okay, so now let's just keep going. If you want to make this a child size, which we are going to do a 1 to 3-year-old, it's going to need to be 18 to 20 inches. So you're just going to keep right on going with what you were doing, except you're just going to add another stitch. So you're going to chain up your 2, go ahead now and put your next stitch, your next half double crochet, and remember the previous row we had 3 half double crochet and then our increase. So now on this row we need to go 4 individual stitches first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you'll do your increase. So that'll be 2 in the next. Okay, so then you'll go start that over. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, increase. And that's what you're going to just do all the way around. Now, if you have a problem with it buckling a little bit like this, they do that, and all that you need to do to fix this, and I haven't done it just because I'm doing this for demonstration purposes, is about every 2 rows or 3 rows. I generally do it every 2 rows, and you only need to do it with the hats that you're making larger size, is I'll add in a row of like if we're working in half double crochet, I'll just add in a row of half double crochet, 1 in each stitch all the way around, about every 2 or 3 rows, and then I'll pick back up working my increase rounds. So if you're going to be doing several rows of increase, like for an adult hat, then you probably would need to do that so that it doesn't really buckle on you like that. So if you're working in single crochet, then every I don't know, 3 rounds, work yourself a row of single crochet, 1 in each stitch, and then pick back up and work your rounds as normal, your increase rounds as normal. So don't pay any attention to the fact that it's buckling. I'm just doing this for teaching purposes here. So you're just going to keep working your 4 stitches in a row, and then your increase. So work that around, join in the top of your chain 2, and I will rejoin you there. Alright guys, I went around one more time, and for this time you want to take your tape measure and you want to measure circumference wise, you want to measure around, and that's when I gave you the measurement of 18 to 20 inches around, and you can just get that measurement best you can. This is sitting about 19 and a half, give or take, so actually the one more round of that was plenty for your toddler 1 to 3 years. Okay, so now if you want to go to a large adult, or about a large adult, you're going to be going 22 to 24 inch. So basically you're just going to be doing the same thing. There's nothing no different. You're just going to measure it the same way. So now you're just going to chain up 2 and half double crochet in the next stitch. So now this previous row we had 4 stitches and then our increase. So this, now we're going to do 5 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, now do your increase. Alright, and now do it again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now increase. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and increase. Alright, so now you're just going to work this around, join up at the top of the chain 2, and I'll meet you there and we'll see where we're at for size.